Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. I'll be leaving timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to the start of class, but I will be sharing announcements as well as supplies, so make sure to stick around for that. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to check me out on Patreon where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another live class. It's been a minute, and when I say a minute, I mean like 3 weeks. So yeah, this month I usually do my classes weekly, but we went on vacation for 2 weeks near San Diego and LA, so I've been kind of out of it for a few weeks, but I am back. We're gonna go ahead and finish up this month with just a very easy light-hearted beginner class. This one should be a lot of fun. We're gonna work on blending, but I want to stress that the silhouette can literally be anyone or anything that you want. So if you don't want to draw a girl, or you don't want to make your own traceable for that, I do have a traceable for you in my Patreon. But if you don't want to do this specific lady or anything of that matter, you don't want to make your own, you can just do some palm trees on the side or some birds, and it would be a fantastic, very colorful sunset. So don't feel stressed if you feel like you need to do this. It can be literally whatever you want it to be. And I encourage you, if you have like a family photo, you could create your own silhouette with, like, you know, I don't know, your family holding hands, or a loved one, maybe that's passed. I think this would be a really fun, it could be a very fun memory photo. So there's so many ideas, so many things that you could create with this type of art, and it's really simple, especially if you have a traceable. So if you need help creating your own traceable, there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube and the internet. I don't specifically have one for that because I make all mine digitally, but feel free to look it up, have fun with it, and yeah, make it your own. Okay, so we're gonna go over some colors, all the supplies that we're gonna use over the class, and then I'm gonna go over the traceable that I have I did use it for this. Whenever I'm doing specifically animals and people, I like to use a traceable specifically because I don't want to have to worry about proportions, because something as specific as an animal or a person has very specific proportions that if it is off or if it is wrong, then it distracts me from the painting, at least when it's my own. So if you're like me, don't feel like that it's like wrong to use a traceable. Use a traceable. I could spend 3 hours trying to get all the proportions correct and doing it myself, but I don't have 3 hours, you know. I'm a mother of 3 young kids. I have nap time to teach you guys. So I'm on a very strict schedule. So I use traceables, and that is totally your own conscience on whether or not you feel like you want to use them. I do, and I create lots of cool art. So this is what the traceable looks like. It's super simple, and this traceable is really only if you want to specifically paint her, okay? So if you want to follow along and you don't want to paint her, that's totally fine. You don't have to, but I do have this available in my Patreon. It's already pinned at the on the chat, as well as it's on my Facebook page. Speaking of Facebook, if you are not on my Facebook page, please go over there and subscribe, or like it and follow it, because that is where I spend most of my time. It's where I spend most of my energy and my posts and reels and information and updates and all that jazz. So here is a link for that. Please go and follow me on there. And lastly, if you do like this content, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help in the algorithm, as well as you'll get notifications of when I go live, so when you can join me. All right, so this is the traceable. I have a 11 by 14 stretched canvas. That's what I pretty much use for all my classes, with the exception of my watercolor classes. So this is 11 by 14 stretched canvas. Occasionally I will get some from Frederick's, which are really, really great. If you don't have something of nicer quality, this is one from Michael's, and they work really great. I will say they don't have as much of a sturdy feeling versus the Frederick's. So while I don't use them all the time, I do recommend Frederick's. But yeah, I'm just using one from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, wherever I got this, wherever the last sale was. So yeah, let's see. So traceable canvas. Let's go over some colors. Now the colors can really be whatever you want. It does not need to be these colors. I really liked this picture because of the pop of color that it had, and you don't necessarily usually see these colors in a sky, so I was really drawn to it because of the pinks and yellows. So that is what I will be using today, but you can use whatever colors you want, especially if you're doing something that's near and dear to your heart. You can pick favorite colors from certain family members and make it your own, okay? But for today, I will be using my black and white. I'll be using a couple different yellows. One is just my bright yellow, and then one is a yellow ochre, kind of for the clouds in that area. I do have a brown. Now if you don't have a yellow ochre, that is totally fine. You can just substitute that for the brown anyways, and that'll create a relatively close yellow ochre anyways. I just like to have yellow ochre on hand so that I don't have to pre-mix colors as much. And then I have my pink. I have a pink. I also have this bright pink. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to use it. It depends on how well that first coat of pink goes on. And then I have, actually I think that's it. Yeah, so it's just the yellows, the pink, brown, and then black and white. And again, if you wanted to use different colors, or if you have a different photo you're working off of, feel free to change the colors as you would like. Other things that you might need obviously are your water, your paper towel, your palette. I have a palette scraper that I like to use, as well as a palette knife I like to use for mixing. We will be pre-mixing colors for the background, and this makes it really easy to blend. We'll go over that in a little bit. And then something else you might want to have is tape, in case you are really bad at straight lines, which some people are, some people aren't. If you are one of those people, it might be helpful to have some tape to go over after we paint the background, after we paint the sky, to have tape once it's dry to put over so that we can paint in our black, and that will really help guide that line. And even if it has a little bit of hiccups, because tape sometimes does that, it'll still help a lot in getting that straight line. So if you are really bad at straight lines, or you want help with that, tape is going to be your best friend, okay? And I just have some tape, some painter's tape. Most of mine that I have is from Hippie Crafter, which is also where I get my paint. And something to note on the paint that I have, don't be fooled by the bottles. They are full body acrylics, professional acrylic paint. Full body in that it's thick paint, like you would normally get for acrylics. It's not the craft paint that usually comes in this size bottle. So just to clear up that in case you were wondering. Okay, I'm gonna go over just what I have here, and then I'll go over some announcements before we get started. But I want to give everyone enough time to kind of figure out what they want in the middle if you're not doing the lady, okay? So essentially what I have, because the sun is going to be in this area, I do kind of want this to overlap that, so I put her in the middle, the same as the middle off to the left side, same as the reference. And if you're trying to size something, I would just make it so that there's about equal amounts from the top and the bottom. So it's pretty much just in the middle, okay? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Go ahead and sketch on, put on whatever you're painting, or if you have the traceable, you want the traceable, go into the chat, and it is pinned. Yeah. Okay, I have a couple announcements, just what we painted earlier this month, as well as what's going on in Patreon. We just finished a painting, which is fun, and I'll show you in a second. This is what we painted at the beginning of the month. We painted this really, really pretty fluorescent butterfly with like the very bright oranges and the lavenders. This one was a lot of fun. I would say it's a beginner class, but you do have to have a little bit of patience in terms of how many strokes you're painting, because you're painting each one of these little petals. But yeah, it was really laid back. It was really fun. I love the background and how textured it is. That was probably one of my favorite backgrounds that I've done in a while, and I might be doing more of them. It was really, really easy. But yeah, that's what we did at the beginning of the month. In my Patreon, we did a bird. We did a sitting robin, and look at how cute. How cute is he? There's a couple berries. We did a very easy kind of blurred out background, a lot of fun textures on the wood, the branches, and then a lot of cool detail on the bird. But yeah, so this is what we did for that. That is available to the $10 tier and up. If you want to join for this, I would wait until next month, like on the 1st, because then not only you'll get this and everything else, but you'll also get next month's traceable. So if you do want to join, try to join on the 1st, or like within the first couple weeks, because then you'll get more time to paint as much of things as you want, if you aren't staying after that 1 month, because you can stay 1 month or you can stay longer. It's totally up to you. I've had a lot of patrons stay for a couple months and then cancel, and then come back a couple months later and then cancel, and then kind of just keep dipping in and out. And then other patrons stay for as long as, you know, because they want to support me, and then others stay, you know, a few months, and then they'll, like, a year later they'll rejoin. So it's very in and out, and it all helps support me as an artist, as well as you get fun things. So this, we literally finished painting this last night. I don't know why. This is brighter in person, so let me just get that out of the way. It is a bit brighter in person, but I love how this came out. So if you like the whole kind of rustic, or just the whole vibe of this, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, so we did this. This is in the Cobalt tier, where I go live weekly in my Patreon, and we paint together on a weekly basis. But yeah, this is what we just finished, and so all those classes are available at the Cobalt level. So again, if you want to join, I would wait until the 1st, because then you'll get access to everything next month, as well as this. So when you join at a tier, you'll get access to not only what you join up for, whether it's a class or a traceable or something like that, you'll also get access to literally everything past. So we have a question. Thank you for that tip. If I join on July 1st, will I still get today's traceable? Yes. So that's what I was saying. So not only you'll get next month's traceables, but when you join a tier, you get access to everything that I've ever posted in Patreon for that tier. So if you join the $5 level, you'll get access to literally every traceable I've ever posted for any of my live classes, as well as you also get like a bunch of quick tip videos, and art challenges and things like that too. So there's a lot more than just traceables and classes in there. But yeah, and that goes for the tutorials. If you sign up for the like the $10 tutorial tier, you'll get access to literally all of the tutorials all the Friday tutorials that I've ever posted in that tier, which is like 54 classes now. But yeah. Feel free to watch now, and on the 1st you can join then, and then you also get everything else for that month. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I think that's all. If no one has any other questions, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my black out. If I was doing this on my own, I would probably do the background first, and then I don't know if I would like cut out or transfer it a different way. But I like to transfer mine by putting the paper on the background, and then like kind of like putting a light up and going that way. Because I do that, I don't know if I'd be able to see the paper through a painted canvas. I probably would be, but I can't do that in the middle of class, so I'll usually do my stuff beforehand. So if you're doing it that way, feel free to put this traceable in after the background has dried, and then you can fill it in. Or you can do it how I do it, so you do it first, and then you color it in black. So we're going to color all of her in black. I'm not going to worry about this part yet. So I'm just going to color all of her in black, and then when we go over the rest of it with our color, we'll still be able to see the silhouette of our lady, our dancer, whatever you want to. Oh, you could have a fun silhouette with like actually putting like a ballerina dancer or something like that. That would be cool too. That would be a really fun gift if you have like a niece or a daughter or somebody else who maybe dances. You could do a silhouette of one of them. That would be a really cool variation of this. Okay, so I'm just gonna take, oh, I didn't go for brushes. My bad. That's because my brushes are in my sink. 1 second. Not in my sink, next to my sink, because I painted yesterday. Okay, so I have the brushes that you will need. I have my typical brushes that I use for every class. I have a large filbert, a medium-sized filbert, and then 3 round brushes. One of those is a liner brush, and 2 of those are just different types of round brushes. One is a little bit more pointed and it's a little bit bigger. The other one is a little bit more round at the tip. It's really great for like dots and things like that. Or if I'm like doing a little bit more texture and I'm roughing up the edge, I don't want to ruin the tip that this has, so I'll typically use this one to do that. Yeah, so right now I'm going to be using my small brush that has a little bit more of a tip to it, so I can be a little bit more intentional with where my black is going. I would encourage you not to use too much water, because we do want this to be as black as we can. And at this stage, it's better to be a little bit smaller than too big, especially when it comes to the hands. You want to try to keep those thin. So it's better to start off with really thin lines and then end up having to make it a little bit bigger. I'm right-handed, so I'm just starting from left to right and kind of working my way top down. If I did the bottom first, then I would probably stick my hand in it. In terms of the hair, I'm not really putting in the hair because one, it's going to get covered up and it's a lot harder to go over thin wispy lines. I'm just going to let that dry. After we're done with the background, then I'll put in some wispies over the background to finish out the hair. And if you do something that you don't like, for instance, I got her nose a little bit too big, I'm just gonna wet a clean brush. And I'm just going to wipe it into her face. That way I can come back and kind of fix that. Alright, so the arms and the face are really the only thing that matter. Everything else has like fabric. There is fabric and can kind of just be wavy. Something seems to be wrong. Over 15 minutes or so, the video starts over at the beginning. I never get to see how you do the background. Well, I haven't done the background yet. Let me see if I can help her. Considering she after 15 minutes. Let's see, how long have I been? It's been 23 minutes of streaming. So she might not get to this point before it restarts. Try refreshing. Toggling the, what's the little bar? Toggling the bar forward. Try refreshing the page and toggling the bar forward to where I'm live. Hopefully she understands that. Does that make sense? Anybody else? I don't know if she'll get that if she doesn't actually make it to how far it is. Hopefully she figured it out. Alright, so that is pretty much it. I'm going through and just making sure that I don't have any big clumps of paint, because I don't necessarily want a ton of texture with this. I really do want it all like flat. So I'm just making sure that's all good. Alright, I'm gonna rinse off my black in my second bottle of water so that I can have clean water to mix my other colors in. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab my pink. We're gonna go ahead and mix our colors while this black dries. So I'm gonna get out my pink. Get out my pink, which I don't have a whole lot of. Let me grab my other one. Okay, here's what I was looking for. Okay, so I'm getting out my pink, and then I will also need my white, which I think I'm almost out of. I need to make my way to Hobby Lobby or Michael's, whoever is having a sale. Alright, so I have a little bit of white. I'll probably need more than that. And then our yellow. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So with our, I'm going to be using a palette knife because I love using my palette knife for, let's see. Can't see my whole palette. There we go. That's better. So I have my pink, my white, and my yellow. I'm going to take my palette knife, which I love using for mixing my paint, and with this you're gonna want to mix your paints, especially if you are new to painting or you struggle with blending. This tool is going to be very, very useful for you. So if you look at the painting, you'll see two colors. You'll see your pink and your yellow, pretty much. While in the pink, and transition from pink to yellow, that is going to be one of our colors. There's also a little bit of a lighter pink in the pink. So there's like pink and then kind of like a lighter pink that's almost got a little bit of yellow in it. If you are only working on blending and you don't want to do the sort of like darker on the edges, lighter in the middle, but it will accentuate just where that brightness of that sun is coming from, if that bleeds into the pink. So there's the dark pink, there's the light pink, there's the in-between kind of mixing, the blending part of it, then there's the yellow, and even in that yellow there's a little bit of a lighter yellow, and then there's the dark yellow that's at the bottom, that will kind of be pulling our clouds from. Now we can do that one a little bit later. For right now, I want to focus on, we have at least two yellows, two pinks, and then an in-between. And by having all of those pinks to grab, or all of those colors to grab from, without having to blend on the canvas, that's going to give us more time to actually blend on the canvas, instead of using that time that we could be blending on the canvas and we're trying to mix colors while trying to make sure it's not, drawing on the canvas. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I did have one message. My mom will be 100 on August 8th. Wow, congratulations to her. I'm a full-time caregiver, and this is going to be my Zen endeavor. Aw, that'll be great. Yeah, it's kind of perfect for that. we can watch you on YouTube and try to recreate somebody. Yeah, for sure. That would be great. It's very much, it kind of has that feeling to it too. All right, I'm going to take my pink and we're going to create, I'm just going to take all the pink I have here and add some white to it. And I almost see like a hint of like purple in this. Now, if you just want it to be pink, that's totally fine. I really enjoy looking at the color and really trying to dissect what color it actually is. And I do see, I'm looking at the pink I have now, I see just a hint of blue or purple in it. So I'm just gonna slowly add tiny, tiny bits of that. And there we go. That's the color. All right, so now that we have a good amount of this, I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to lighten it up just ever so slightly with some white. I'm just going to slowly keep adding some white until I get a little bit lighter, and then I'm also going to add the tiniest bit of yellow. Now when you add your yellow, please, please, please add just the tiniest bit, because it's going to shift that hue very, very fast because of how light this color is, and it will take over if you put too much in. I barely put any and it's already got that lighter hue. I'm gonna go even a little bit because I'm trying to get this color. It's a pretty light color. Before the white, I added the tiniest bit of yellow. Just to start that process, because it is kind of pulling that yellow into it. So I just have just the tiniest bit of yellow. So the pink overall has pink, white, and a touch of blue, just like ever so slightly, because it's got kind of a purpley hue to it. And then I took some of that, added a tiny bit of yellow and some white. And I'm just kind of creating that color. All right, now we're going to create our yellow. So I'm going to wipe off my palette knife. And grab some yellow. Now the yellow I have here is not the color that is on the canvas. There's probably only 2 spots I would say that has that bright of yellow, and it's like these 2 spots. You see how bright that is? It's pretty bright. But everything else has a very muted white and almost like a brownish. So I'm gonna get out my my yellow ochre, and if you don't have yellow ochre, just grab your brown and just put like the tiniest bit out. And how about I actually just do that for you? I'll just do it with you. That's a lot of brown, so I'm gonna put some back. I really don't need that much. And the brown that I'm using specifically is burnt umber, but my favorite to use is raw umber. But any brown will do. So I'm gonna take this yellow. I'm just gonna take the whole thing. I'm just gonna mix in the brown that's already on my thing. Maybe add a little bit more brown. Now, normally I would add orange to this, but since I already have the pink out, I'm just gonna add a little pink to that because it does very much have a warm tone of yellow, and the brown, at least the brown that I have and the yellow that I had, definitely made it a little bit more of like a green hue of yellow. So to counterbalance that, you would need to add like an orange or a yellow, or a red, or in this case, a pink, because those are all very warm colors. Now it's back to a little bit more of a warm color. It definitely looks like mustard right now. Maybe a little closer to Dijon mustard, but I want it to be even warmer than that. So I'm going to go even more pink. And I'm going to add more white to it because I can tell that it doesn't have enough white. And right now I'm trying to create the outer rim, just like we created the corner color first of the pink. We're creating the outside color first. And then we'll take some of that and add white to it. So I'm just adding more pink and more white. Just trying to warm it up a little bit even more. Okay, I like this color. This is it's very muted, but it's nice. What's nice about this picture is like even though it's got that pop of color, it still looks realistic in its coloring. If I just went full on just pink and yellow, that pink and yellow would mix into each other. It would create an orange. It'd be very, very super bright and would look almost unrealistic. With this picture, it still looks realistic with how kind of not dull. The colors aren't dull. They're still like very vibrant and pop. Especially because of that black, but they're very realistic in their colors, in their saturation. So I'm going to take this color, I'm going to take a little bit of this, put it off to the side, and I'm going to add a bunch of white to it. So that I have a lighter yellow to pull from. If you've never spent this much time beforehand prepping your colors, the time you spend now will save you not only trying to figure out how to blend something that's on the canvas that you didn't have prepped beforehand, but then also saves you of doing a second coat and a third coat trying to get those colors right. Because they didn't blend correctly or whatever the case is. It's really helpful to have these colors on ahead of time. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that your black is completely dry. You want to make sure it is all the way dry, because what happens if it's not? It's going to blend, and then you're going to have black streaks everywhere. Nobody wants that. So make sure that it's all dry, and we're going to go ahead and paint. It does take a while to prep your paints, but it's really important, especially for beginners who want to learn how to blend. This is a really important step, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to mentally, I'm actually going to, let's see. I'm going to put tape down now, so I know how far to go down. So there's no question of how far I need to go down. So this is right about here, and I'm just gonna look right in front of this, make sure it's flat. All right, you wanna make sure that that top edge is completely down and around the corners. All right, if you don't have that, then you could also just draw a line, maybe with like a ruler or something, and that would be fine too. Rulers and tape and traceables are not cheating. They are tools we use as artists. Bugs me when people say that that's cheating. I'm like, they're tools. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dip my biggest brush in the water, dab it off a little bit. We don't want it soaking wet because we want this first coat, we want this coat to be the coat. We're not gonna do 2 coats of this. We're just gonna slab on a lot of paint and we're going to blend it all. If you don't use very much paint, it's going to dry faster, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put on my dark pink. I'm gonna say dark pink, light pink, and then, you know, light yellow, light pink, dark pink, light yellow, dark yellow. So I'm going to do the corners first. And I realized we forgot to do a mix, like a pink and yellow mix, but that's okay. That one's not as important. And we can mix that with whatever's on our brush at the time. Okay, so I'm just doing the top. So I got my dark. Okay, I'm gonna bring my dark in. I don't know why it looks so purple on the screen. It's definitely not that purple. I'll change the hue after this. Now I'm gonna go in with my light. I'm not rinsing off my brush. I'm just grabbing that light pink and putting it on in the middle. And I'm mixing that into the other pink. Now once you get that on there, you can go in big strokes all the way across your canvas. And then now what I'm going to do is, with the stuff that's already on my brush, I'm just going to mix it a little bit, pre-mix it just a little tiny bit with what's on, with a little bit of that yellow. It's gonna make kind of like a, almost like a peachy color. And I'm just going to slowly kind of mix it up a little bit. And now I'm gonna mix it down. I'm gonna go straight into that yellow. Mix it into that peach color that I already have. And the more times you go over something, the more it's going to blend. And what's great about something like this is that if the first coat doesn't come out the way you want it to, let it fully dry, remix your colors, and then go from there. I rinsed out my brush and I'm gonna go in with white right here. And I'm going to mix into that yellow. And you're gonna go back into that kind of peachy color anytime you're trying to go from your yellow back into that pink. I'm gonna go into my dark color over here on the side. As I work my way into the middle, I'm gonna add that lighter yellow. It looks very orange and purple. I apologize, that's not what it looks like in real life. I'll fix my camera when I'm done with the background. I'm gonna go back in with my dark colors on here. And in this middle part, I'm doing the light yellow. So my light yellow. Doing my light yellow up here. And then going back into that whenever I want to blend this, and this is already dried, so I'm going to go back into that pink and kind of pre-mix it on my brush. And then mix it down. And I'm just taking white in the center and just mixing it out. And go in with a little bit more white right here. And mix that in. And I'm kind of trying to go in like a circular motion when I get to the edges because it helps it blend in and have less, has less streaks and strokes. Alright, now that I'm at kind of a stopping point, let me go ahead and fix my camera settings. I just did a, the one that I did yesterday of the, I'll show you why I do that. So this is the color. This is the color that you see right now is what I see. It's a very bright pink. But when I go to default, it makes it look orange, even though that's a little bit closer of what I see here. It's really weird. Like, let's see. Like that is closer to what I see in terms of the pink. But now this looks actually orange and it's not. I'm like, it's so weird. I don't know. That is making like the yellow look green, which it's not. So I'm just gonna, I have a nice camera, so I don't know why it does that. It's just, the pink is too pink. Alright. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do, because we have time, I think I might do a second coat of this. Because it didn't get, it wasn't as blended as I hoped it to be. And that's okay. Sometimes we do things and it doesn't turn out the way we want. It's probably not your fault. Sometimes things just, doing a second coat I know is gonna like be way better. So I'm going to remove some of this old paint because if I keep it on here it'll end up getting mixed into my new paint, and I don't want that. I'm gonna leave the yellow because that's fine. I want it a little bit more pink, so I'm not gonna do the blue this time. Just gonna do the pink and white, I think. I'm gonna use the rest of the pink that I already have. And we're just gonna kind of recreate the colors a little bit. Maybe we'll put a little bit of blue, just not as much. Maybe that's the solution. So just to clarify, I am going to do another coat. So I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to do another coat of this. And I think now that you kind of know the order of things that I do, I'm gonna go a little bit faster. And I think I'm going to skip doing the lighter part. I think that would make it easier, because we can always add a little bit of white in the middle as we go. But yeah, now you know how to kind of look at a painting and be like, oh, well, I need all of these colors, these sections. We have light, we have dark, we have light, we have dark, we have light, and we have that mix. And I won't forget that part because that part is very important. Okay, so that we have the yellow, which I do think needs to be much lighter. So my lighter on my yellows, my light yellow was probably the color of my dark yellow, and I needed an even lighter yellow. So what I'm going to do is and the reason I'm spending so much time in the background is because literally, guys, literally, all we have left to do is color her in again and color this black and put a little bit of streaks for the ending. So we're not even in an hour yet, so I am totally fine with doing another coat of this. Because usually my classes are 2 hours, so I'm okay spending a little bit of extra time working on our blending. And most of the time, a second coat will fix whatever lack of blending was there. Because having an undercoat, especially for something like this, is really important. Most of the time, I want to say, usually on smaller sections though, I can get away with only one coat. But this was just too big of a section to do that realistically. Unless you have a really, really big brush and you're just like making giant strokes, which I didn't. Was not using that today. Okay, so I have my yellow. I am gonna add more yellow. And I'm just gonna add my yellow ochre because it's gonna be faster. And a bunch of white. And I realized that I didn't really have enough yellow, or like I need more yellow, because like more than half the canvas is yellow. So the color I made was pretty much yellow ochre, so that's why I chose to do yellow ochre this time, because that's the color I was creating. So I just didn't have to use all the other colors to do it. Alright, so I think this is the dark color, and I'm just going to do this for the lighter color. Keep opening my little white thinking that there's white in it, and there's no white. And every time I'm like, because I have a little white that I refill, and then I have a big white that's kind of like my my refill bottle. Okay, so I have 2 yellows to pull from, which is helpful. I'm gonna wipe off my palette knife. And this is almost, it's like just the tiniest bit tacky here in the middle because I had a bunch of white. So we'll wait just a tiny bit. In the meantime, you probably will need a liner brush for the bottom part. Let's see. I just have a question for you. Can you please tell me how you go about pricing your paintings? Yeah, sure. While this is drying, I will answer that question. For me, most of the time, I do $1 per square inch. It's really simple. It's an easy way for me to have a base price. That's like my base pricing. So for instance, something like this would be 150 if like once I finish it and I put all the details and stuff like that. And that's probably most of my 11 by 14 ones are 150. If I've spent more than 2 hours on it, usually if it's Patreon, I will add it a little bit. Usually those start at 200 because I did spend a little bit of extra time on it, and they're typically a lot more detailed. This one specifically, because it is a lot simpler, it might be 125 or 100, but usually $1 per square inch is my base pricing. I know some people go who are like super professionals, whatever, they go up to like even $6 per square inch, and then other new artists that do like 25 cents per square inch or 50 cents per square inch. It kind of just depends on, you know, how much work and time you put into something, and if people really, like, the thing is people really want your work, they're gonna pay for it. So you have to not sell yourself short. Now granted, in all my years of painting, I've only sold 3 paintings out of all of it, and one of that was in a dual transaction. So somebody bought an acrylic painting as well as a watercolor painting. So I've only sold 3 paintings in 2 different transactions. So I'm not I don't know if I would be the best example of that in terms of selling your work. I also just don't advertise my paintings very much, because my audience, even on Facebook and YouTube, they're all people wanting to learn from me, not buying from me. So I have a very unique situation in terms of selling my work, because I don't really feel comfortable promoting it in terms, because the audience, all of the audiences that I have are there to learn, not necessarily there to buy. But yeah, I still have it out there. I have an Etsy, and that's kind of how I price my things. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is on a case-by-case basis, or if I spent like a bunch of time on it, and I really, really like it, like I want to keep it, but I would sell it for a certain price. You have to be able to price it at a point that if somebody bought it at that point, even though you really love it, you would be happy to sell it at that price. So I have a painting that probably took me 3 or 4 hours, and I really, really like it. So I have it priced at $400. It's the same size as this, but I spent a lot of time on it, and I really like it. But I would be happy if somebody bought it for $400. I would be okay giving it away for $400. I feel like that would be like, I would accept that. But if I sold it for $200, I would be like, I'd be sad to see it go for only $200. Does that make sense? So I don't know. it's like, it is hard pricing your work because it's like a part of you, and you do have to be realistic with the pricing as well as what you think it's worth. But at the same time, if somebody wants to buy it, they'll pay for it. So, okay, so this is, yeah. All right, this is all dry, and I have my paint, so let's go ahead and do another coat. I hope that was helpful, Nikki. Okay, great. I didn't see that Cindy had a thing. It's really pretty. I don't know how to mix colors to make new colors. I guess I should practice more. Yeah, that is just a matter of practice. If you are a patron, or if you do become a patron, I do have a color theory class that is open to all patrons. I believe it's open to all patrons. And if not, then it's probably in the $10 tier. We did a mixing class, like a color mixing class and color theory class in there. So if you're interested in that, if you want to become a patron or you're already a patron, it's in there. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, let's do our second coat of this. And if you have a bigger brush, I am going to upsize my brush a little bit, just to make it a little bit easier. If you have a bigger brush, that will help in terms of mixing, because you cover more ground that way. Okay, I'm gonna get this wet. I'm gonna start with my pink, and because we already have a coat of this on here, I can add a little bit more water to my color, and that will also help it blend in with each other. So I'm going to bring the pink down a little bit so I have something to go into. And I'm just going to get a little bit of white, kind of just blend in that. Alright, now I'm going to take some of this yellow and blend it in with the pink, and I'm going to do a little bit of that. And I'm just going to try to do really big strokes. And the more times you go over something, the more it's going to blend. I'm going to rinse out my brush, and I'm going to go over with this lighter yellow. I'm just going to work on blending that one section of kind of that whitish I like that better. I'm going to take this light color, this light yellow color, and blend it right here. And then I can always come back with the darker color and blend it in the sides. Adding a little bit of water I'm not really focusing on the middle yet because I'll get there. I'm just trying to focus on the blend between the yellow and the pink. And remember that you do have to move a little bit quicker because it is acrylics. Okay, now I'm going to rinse out my brush. And grab my white. And I'm just going to go from the center and then move out. Whenever I do individual strokes, I'm trying to go in the direction with my brush, in the direction of that. Okay. I think that looks really good. Now, before it dries, I'm gonna take some of this yellow here. And I'm gonna create some of the lighter clouds just in the background. By just using that dark yellow. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get out just some regular old yellow ochre and see if that color specifically does well. I'm just kind of putting in some I'm just kind of pushing my brush up into the sun area. Wiggling my brush. Alright, I'm gonna make a slightly darker color with a tiny bit of brown. It's too much brown. I'm just gonna rinse out my brush. adding just a tiny bit of brown to my yellow ochre. Just make a little bit of a richer tone instead of adding that black or whatever other color. Gonna do the same thing on the right side. Again, this is my yellow ochre and a little bit of brown. And with just barely anything on your brush, you can also create very light clouds. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the sky. Just a little bit of clouds, and that's pretty much all you need for it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull the tape off, and I'm going to do another coat of the black on her body, and then we're also going to do the bottom part. All right. So that the bottom part can dry, we're gonna go ahead and do that part first. Now I want to say that we are gonna do this in a kind of a lighter version of a black, so that we can tell the difference of where our feet are. I'm gonna add brown and black together, and that is that's what I'm going to do for the for like this first section, especially here just in the middle. It's gonna have a little bit of brown in it. I'm just using a filbert to go around the feet, and you might not be able to see a difference, but I can see when I get really close. I can see where the feet are, and that's really all that matters, is that you can see the difference and you can see where it is. And then once you get to the side, you can just start putting in that black. Okay, I'm going to switch to a larger brush so I can do the rest of this in black. And even though it's all one color and it's black, When you are doing this, you want to make sure that all your lines, even after you get on the paint, you want to make sure that they are long strokes going side to side, because that's where that's how the reflection of all the water strokes are going to be too. And it's just helpful in starting that process in case you have any clumps of paint or streak marks that you can see. It's just helpful, and you won't have to worry about doing a second coat or going over the wrong way. So get your paint on there, and then you can do long strokes. Don't forget the bottom. Alright, so as I move closer to her feet, I'm going to start using that other kind of brownish concoction of black. Okay. I'm going to rinse out my biggest brush. That I was using. And actually, pretty much all my other brushes too. Make sure they're all clean, because I'm going to go ahead and do her now. And when I'm doing this, I really want to be cautious of not going outside the lines. And make sure that any parts of your hand doesn't have, like, you know, paint on it, because you don't want to stick that right in the sun. I've done it before, it's not fun. This is the quiet part of the class where it's not really much to teach. It's just kind of filling in the gaps, filling in the kind of coloring in the lines a little bit. Remember that when you're doing the face, you don't have to settle. If you don't like it, grab a clean brush, get it wet, dab it off, and then pull into the face, and then put that down, and you can redo the silhouette of the face. You don't just have to settle for the first try. This is probably the second or third time that I've tried to do the mouth. I'm happy with the nose. I'm not happy with the mouth. So don't feel like you have to keep the first one you did. If you don't like it, take off just that part and redo it. Okay? And then as for the hair, you want to make sure that you have a good amount of water in your mixture. If you want a little bit more of a wispy effect, where it's like really light, then have less water. But if you want it to be dense, and then you'll have a little bit more water. I mean, it already looks really good. I am gonna do one thing. I'm gonna get out my orange and put just a touch of orange in the black that I'm creating for just this front part. And I'm gonna do a second coat of that. I just put it on the front, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the pieces here, and I'm gonna use, let's see, I'm gonna use my liner brush, and I'm going to use just one of the yellows. I think it's my yellow ochre. I think it's a darker yellow. Or maybe we'll use a lighter yellow, I don't know. I'm gonna start in the middle, and that's where it's the brightest. I'm going to figure out where like the lowest point is. And then just be really careful to stay away from the feet area. You do want to frame the foot though. We're going to frame the foot in our use of lines and such. And if it's not coming out very well, try to make sure that you have a good amount of water in your concoction and your paint. And I'm just kind of making little bits of dots and uneven lines that kind of go in and out. This is the middle section. For this middle section, I'm gonna cover it in yellow, and I'm gonna come back with just like plain white. I'm just doing lots of little tiny sections at all, little lines. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom back out. And that is pretty much what it looks like. I'm gonna do a little bit more on the edges out here. When you have barely anything on your brush, that's when you go in and just add little tiny ones. Just add a little something in there. So now that I have that, I'm gonna come back in here and grab some white. And this white has pink on it, so I'm going to get some different white. I'm just going to touch up a couple things in the middle here. I think we need a little bit more attention. All right. My thing just flew, my brush just flew out of my hand. All right. I'm just gonna do one more coat of this kind of brownish, brownish black. I'm also just making sure that the black is fully opaque and there's no see-through. Which I think there is a little bit of see-through here on top. It's kind of hard for me to see. Alright, that is pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this class. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really am excited for that second coat in the background. It made a huge difference. If you remember what it looked like beforehand, it was very, you could pretty much see all the strokes. So if you think that you're not good at blending, try to just do a second coat. It really does make a difference. And even for me, I know how to blend, and you know, sometimes the first coat doesn't always work, even for me. So do a second coat, you'll enjoy the process more. And just in general, usually with all of my classes, I try to do 2 coats, having a base layer, having an undercoat, and then having a coat on top of that, because for this specific reason, it makes such a difference in the like quality that you're seeing. So yeah, let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything. I could probably do a second coat of black down here, which I might do. But yeah, I am so happy you guys joined me. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. If you're not on my Facebook page, please go over there and follow me. I also have a free Facebook group where you can post your picture of these classes. So within the next 20 minutes, I will post my picture in an album, and you can click on that album and add your picture of this painting. I would love it if you guys did that, as well as you can look at literally every class I've ever painted online, who if you see an album that has a picture in it, it is a class that I've taught in that group, whether it's on Facebook, or whether it's on YouTube or in my Patreon. I have an album for everything that I've taught. Usually it updates monthly, and kind of as I go. So if you don't see something that I painted recently, it might just be because I haven't put it in there yet, but it will be in there. But yeah, go look at that, have fun. I'll go ahead and post a link for my community in the chat right now. Go join that. I would love to see your guys' painting. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to be able to see everybody's work. So yeah, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week. And yeah, happy painting. Have a great night, guys. Bye.